I don't suppose we'll ever know if we actually succeeded. But at worst, we failed doing the right thing, as opposed to succeeding in doing the wrong.
Life and soul, you are.
What is it actually called? Well, there's some debate. Either No More or Gallifrey Falls.
Not very encouraging.
How did it get here? No idea.
There's always something we don't know, isn't there?
One should certainly hope so. Well, gentlemen, it has been an honor and a privilege.
Likewise.
Doctor.
And if I grow to be half the man that you are, Clara Oswald, I shall be happy indeed.
That's right, aim high.
I won't remember this, will I?
The time streams are out of sync. You can't retain it. No.
So I won't remember that I tried to save Gallifrey rather than burn it. I have to live with that. But for now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
9 billion names of Pod.
From Atlanta, a proud sanctuary city. It's the 9 Billion Names of Pod with Dan Bauman and Michael Reed. I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm gonna mock him here and mock him there. I'll mock that dumb Trump everywhere.
So let's talk about some stuff.
Oh, harumph.
Harumph indeed. Wasn't as quite as bad as last year, but we did lose two prominent entertainment figures this week.
America herself.
America, well,
And
I forgot about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna try to not talk politics. It's gonna be hard, but we got we got a little overzealous last week.
Well, like I said, about once every 6 months, we'll dust off the anger box, open it up, and vent it out, and then we'll go back to the nerd stuff.
Unfortunately.
But
currently, the anger stuff happens on a daily basis.
I'm feeling a bit yelly and punchy, but I'll try to keep that.
But let's celebrate some folks. We lost Mary Tyler Moore this week.
I know, I had no idea. Now I knew that John Hurt, who we also lost, had been sick, but I had no.
She may have been keeping it quiet. I had heard a rumbling. I think they were trying to do some kind of reunion a year or two ago for. It may have been for the Dick Van Dyke Show. And,
well, no, they did something like a decade ago.
Well, I thought they did something relatively recently. It may have been for something else, but she either didn't attend or couldn't attend or was only briefly there. So there was little inklings, but she may have very smartly and very privately pulled out of the spotlight as she was sick. And that's the main thing. My mom growing up, she watched Mary Tyler Moore and Rhoda and all the spin-offs and stuff, but where I basically know her from is the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Really? Not Mary Tyler Moore?
No, I never really watched Mary Tyler Moore.
Well, you know what? Because back in our childhood, Dick Van Dyke Show was infinitely syndicatable, shall we say, rerunnable during the day. Mary Tyler Moore was a tiny bit subversive. She's single.
Right.
She dates.
Yep.
She might have gentlemen callers in her apartment past midnight.
Right.
Oh, dear. Get my fainting couch and my pearls for clutching. Yeah, and that's the thing that we take for granted now. She was a single woman in the city doing it her way, and that was new then.
And
at least in the popular zeitgeist, there may have been something before that, but it didn't catch on.
Not much.
This was our own Laura Petrie. They originally were going to have her be divorced and moving to Minneapolis, and the network went, no, because America will think that she divorced Dick Van Dyke.
Right. I know. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because Fresh Air, your favorite interviewer and mine, Terry Gross, was talking. They were talking about that, and I thought, wow, even back then, the networks thought we were dumb as shit. And you know what? We kind of are.
And
it's
were.
it's a fictional character.
Yeah.
Played by an actress who is now playing another fictional character.
Well, but people.
Fictional. Is that a word?
It's
Fictitious character.
it's a fictional.
Fictional?
It's a fictional word. Yes, it's not.
Well, irregardless. ... Ooh. I never thought I'd say this.
Yeah.
Please come back, George W. Bush.
Right?
Right. It's like, miss me yet? Yeah, now we do.
We'll take the
I'll take you and
the court. We'll take the court jester over the
right.
fucking
You and
warlord.
Darth Cheney over. Dear God. I don't know. Anyway. All right.
Anyway. But what I was going to say was, till the day he died, people called Robin Williams Mork. So I see the whole point. People like the entertainment industry does kind of groom it that way. Like once you see somebody, and as we were talking about some of the actors like Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford, some choose to divorce themselves from that and move on and have bigger careers. And some, like Hamill, he's like, once a Musketeer, always Musketeers. I'll be Luke Skywalker for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, and Harrison Ford, I think he did things smartly. He kept it at a distance, but he didn't say fuck Star Wars.
So in so many words.
He didn't embrace it, but he didn't completely this interview's over if we're talking about anything to do with Star Wars. I mean, he did that stuff on, was it Kimmel with Chewbacca?
He did that a couple of times.
Which
was really funny.
You know what you did. And
that was my wife.
Yeah, exactly. I like that.
Yeah.
So that's, but then there's people like Mark Hamill's like, sure, you're doing a convention in Sisterfuck, Arkansas with 3 people. I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
And so I can see why the network wanted to do that and make it not Laura Petrie or not make her divorce. That's really interesting.
Right. Well, it's a different name, but yeah. So,
but still.
But it was equally scandalous because she had broken up with a long-term relationship with a married man. Apparently, that was. Ooh.
And see, the thing is, you said before we take it for granted, but the reason we take it for granted is because she blazed that trail.
Absolutely. And even on the Dick Van Dyke Show, back in that time, what was it, early 60s? What did Dick Van Dyke run? 61 to
65, something like that?
I think it was 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah, but they did. I heard an interview with either Dick Van Dyke or Carl Reiner, and he said, yeah, we ran for 5 seasons, but we did 60 shows a year.
Right. So
it wasn't 22. It was
right.
So there's way more than normal.
Exactly. She broke the mold by wearing capri pants.
Yeah. That was a huge thing.
My God, I could see the outline of her buttock.
Yeah, and I can see her shins.
It's like that's what turned me into a sexual deviant at the age of 7. The Dick Van Dyke reruns.
Right.
Like, look at that shin. I'm going to wear women as a skin. Sorry. What?
Did you?
I'm channeling Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
You said that. You did say that out loud.
Did I say that out loud? Okay. Well,
we should do a Dick Van Dyke and I guess like black and white sitcom show because they're so brilliant, especially Dick Van Dyke.
Oh yeah,
that show.
Now, my favorite parody of the Dick Van Dyke Show was on your favorite show and mine, Family Guy, where he comes in, he trips over the ottoman, and then proceeds to destroy the house and murder everybody by accident, by just accidentally, clumsily, like flinging a knife through Laura Petrie's head and shoving the kids in the oven by mistake.
Now she had a production company too.
MTM, Mary Tyler Moore.
Where she did a lot of stuff.
Hey, Hill Street Blues, that's her baby.
Was it?
Hill Street Blues, that was her show.
Which was your basic prototypical
that was the original
procedural.
The original
primetime hour-long cop show.
Gritty cop show, not just, Book 'em down or
Car 54, where are you?
Well, that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I was thinking
Dragnet.
I was thinking more along the lines of Dragnet or Adam 12, where it's like barely fictionalized, true crime stories.
Right.
This was like, oh wow, cops are not these 2-dimensional characters.
Exactly.
They actually have home lives
and
they
problems
and lots of problems, and they do dumb shit. Okay.
And that was one of those ones that as a kid I actually watched and enjoyed. Like my mom, it was something I watched with my mom, and I got that would probably be the first hour-long drama I ever got into as a kid. It was Hill Street Blues.
See, I've never watched a complete episode of Hill Street Blues, but I have an intimate knowledge of Hill Street Blues in that when our family traveled the country, we were always off the road and safely in our hotel room by the time Hill Street Blues is on. Because my father's like, we are not new. You kids can go drown in the pool in the courtyard for all I care. I'm watching my Hill Street Blues.
You see, back in the day, kids, you couldn't watch television whenever you wanted. It was on at one time a week, and if you missed it, you may never have seen it again.
You may watch over and over again during the summers. You might catch it on a rerun. Maybe. But there's no guarantee.
We used to watch it that way in the caves around the fire.
Exactly. And when the bat guano stopped burning, the TV went dark.
Right.
It was awful. But yeah, I mean, and of course we've got the interesting chemistry of Mary Tyler Moore, or what was she? She was Laura. No, she was Mary.
Mary Richards.
Richards, that's it. Mary Richards and Lou Grant.
Yeah, that's the weirdest. Okay, just as a little tangent, that's the weirdest spin-off in history.
Oh, the Lou Grant,
because they
turned it to a drama.
They took a character from a comedy and turned him into a serious newsman on a drama.
Yeah,
and I mean, Ed Asner is the guy who could do that.
Yeah.
But what the hell was that all about?
You know what? That's back in the day when things like that and Manimal would get greenlit.
I watched Manimal.
I just know
And
of
Auto
its
Man.
existence. Yeah, just the man from Atlantis, just
Ooh, yeah.
weird shit that are like, sure, let's give it a shot. Let's give it 6 episodes, see if it catches on.
Yeah,
Or nowadays, let's give it a pilot, air it, see what people think,
and take it off the week. Yeah, we'll cancel it the same night.
Or we'll shoot 8 episodes, and based on just the buzz before the first episode, Mike O'Malley's show, we'll just go ahead and cancel it before it even airs. Because okay.
Yeah, it was kind of Wild West-ish back then, where
Grant Tinker, her ex-husband.
That's right.
He passed away recently,
and he was like
he was the Lord God of television.
But he was an innovator in that way. In that,
do you know who's still alive? That is like the god of innovative television.
Who?
Norman Lear.
Yes, he's
90
in
his 90s,
something.
and he's good friends with Harlan Ellison.
Yeah,
and
he just put out a book, I think, not too long ago.
Well, he just showed up on Bill Maher's show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like last season it was on there, and he's just like, yeah, I'm 90, I'm doing my thing.
Yeah,
I'm not
still writing.
I'm not drooling incontinent and can't remember things. He is sharp as a tack and still doing.
Well, it's guys like that. I think that's what it is. The creative people, you listening, administration? The creative people, they live longer, they live more. I mean, Norman Lear, Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner, people.
Carl Reiner still being alive is amazing.
Yeah, he's 95, I want to say.
I'm surprised that that his son is still living.
Yeah.
Let alone his father.
Right. And Carl Reiner's still funny. I heard an interview with him not too long ago, and this just struck me so funny. He said, him and Mel Brooks have lunch every day, and they'll go to the movies every now and again. And he said, and he has his parameters. You know how I did judge of what a good movie is? And it's like, okay, what, Carl? Because I heard an interview with him. I think it was Mark Maron. He said, if a movie has one of these 2 lines, it's a good movie. It's like, okay, well, what are the 2 lines? Well, one of them is get some rest. If someone says that to another character, that's a good movie. And he said the other one is if one character looks at another one and says, "You've gone too far," that's a good movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll pass that along to Nick and keep that in mind. For
That's
all
right.
the
Tell him to
Reiner
slide that in
Just
there.
get those 2 lines into everything. You never know.
You'll get the Reiner vote.
Exactly. This may be more than just Reiner. It could be a thing that we're just not aware of.
Yeah, some weird algorithm in the zeitgeist that.
Dan, you've gone too far. Get some rest.
We'll have to.
Boom.
Yeah.
Just knock it out. 1-2 punch. Clear it out of the way.
Yep.
And of course we can't forget Ted Baxter on Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah.
That in the interview that Mary Tyler Moore did in I think 95 or 96 with Sohaila's favorite interviewer of all time, Terry Gross, was talking about he played such the buffoon, and everyone thought in real life he was a dumbass, and it hurt his feelings badly. It's like, I'm a smart guy. What is
He's a serious actor.
Exactly. Well, it's kind of like God, I can't remember his name. Mike Reed. Rick Reed?
No, not you.
Not me. No, I'm not Mike.
Robert Reed.
Robert Reed
from
that's
the Brady
it.
Bunch.
Right.
Yeah.
He's a serious actor, and he's doing this light, fluffy bullshit. Where you were talking about how Patrick Stewart,
Yes.
it took him a whole season to go, all right,
wait a minute.
there are levels of acting.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, wait,
used
this
to
isn't
here.
Shakespeare.
I'm down here, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a demotion. It's just a different
It's just
track.
a different genre.
Right.
That's all.
Exactly. So, and he was ready to quit the show, and Carl Reiner, talked with him and finally got him, like, okay, all
Was
right.
it Carl Reiner who worked on it?
Not Carl Reiner, Grant Tinker.
Grant Tinker, yeah.
Tinker. And someone else came in on his way out and says, "Hey, how's my favorite dummy?" or something like that, and just almost wrecked the entire thing. But that cast, I mean,
Well, think about it this way. I was going to bring that up. Speaking of the Lou Grant thing, that show almost rivaled All in the Family with the amount of spin-offs it had. I mean, you had Lou Grant, you had Rhoda, you had Phyllis, the Cloris Leachman one.
yeah.
And I want to say there was one or two more. But that extended universe of
the spinoff we didn't get that we wanted.
What?
The Sue Ellen spinoff.
Sue Ellen. Oh yeah.
Betty White.
Yes.
She would have been in her 452nd season by now, but it kept going.
And she at the time was playing the vixen-y role.
Yeah, the kind of the hussy.
Yeah, Betty White kids. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I've seen some
she was
some
a
footage of
beautiful
her back
girl.
in the 50s, and
She was a model.
Yeah. Well, it's like looking at. I was watching this movie called Gaslight. Gaslight, kind of what's happening.
Look it up, kids.
It's kind of like what we're all being subjected to right now.
Yeah.
And I looked and went, my God, that woman is gorgeous. She looks so I can't quite. Oh, it's Angela Lansbury.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back in the 40s, hello, Angela.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. So, that's that ties into the whole like, Mommy, who's that pretty, pretty lady? That's your grandma. Ooh, no, that's not grandma. Grandma, she's old and wrinkled. I'm like, well, not always.
She wasn't.
I'm like, okay. Anyway, she also, I don't know if she got I think she got an Oscar for Ordinary People.
I believe she
in
did, yeah.
1980, and that was I think I've seen that. Is with Timothy Hutton. And,
I watched that in school. That was like an English class thing because it was based on a novel, I believe.
Yeah, and
or
I
a
think
play.
it deals with some tragedy in a family.
Yeah,
like
the kid either dies or
he was a
overdoses
drug
or
addict
killed somebody or something. Yeah,
Yeah, something like that. And she played way against type in
Yeah.
that. She was not bubbly. She was kind of cold, harsh. And
It was a drama. It was a real deal drama. It wasn't.
She's got range.
I think it was Alan Alda was in that as well.
That is the father.
Okay, then I'm thinking of something else.
It's one of those like not A-list but B-list, but still very solid
Right.
actor. I guess list as far as their fame level, not as far as their talent level.
Yeah.
Because there's some A-listers that can't act out of a fucking paper bag.
Oh,
but
yeah,
somehow,
especially now.
But somehow
Yeah.
they're getting the $40 million a
They
picture.
look good and blah blah blah.
Exactly.
But-
So yeah, she had a lot of range. She did do something with Dick Van Dyke. I don't think it was a continuation of the Dick Van Dyke Show. I wish
Might have been a different sitcom.
just it was a one-off thing.
Oh, okay.
It was a one-off thing to bring the two together.
Yeah.
And I think Carl Reiner was involved. Maybe it was supposed to be.
A reunion kind of deal.
Yeah, I can't remember. Gosh, if
Because I do remember they did something and they like trotted out Maury Amsterdam and he was like 105 and not
Death's
doing
Door.
well, and I thought, ooh, that's not the best idea. But
let's put him in the armoire and open up the door and
Yeah.
go, there he is. Like, no.
no. But
I mean, I'm all for, little one-off, reunions, I guess. It's like, oh, that's kind of cute, I suppose, but trying to recapture,
Yeah.
Although, guess what's getting rebooted as an actual series, and they're going into multiple episodes. It's not like a one-off for fun. They're bringing Will and Grace back.
that's right. They're doing 10. They're doing 10.
I
Yeah,
thought it was 8.
8 or 10. Yeah, they're doing for NBC.
Yeah, and I'm like, I saw the one they did for the election. It was smart, funny, sassy.
It was a good show.
I'm like,
It was a good show.
you got to redeem that horrible series finale they did where it got really dark and messed up.
Well, I have a big problem with when they I had the same problem. We'll get into it, but it went with Parks and Rec, which is
Oh, we will get into it.
We'll get into it.
Where they go into the future.
No, where they create conflict between the two main characters just to have a resolution, and it's like, okay, don't do that to us. We don't want to see that.
You've been best friends for 8 seasons,
Yeah.
and then in the last 2 episodes, all of a sudden, now we're fighting.
Right. I didn't want to see Ron and Leslie Knope fight. I didn't want to see, you don't want to see Will and Grace fight. It's just it's stupid. It's poor writing.
But you definitely want to see Walt and Jesse fight.
Yes, I would. Yes, and I will at some point. Just shaking his head at me.
I'm just best television show ever made. Sorry.
Extenuating circumstances.
I know.
So
Fare thee well.
Fare thee well.
Yeah,
Mary.
I mean,
and thank you for everything.
Yeah, and she was also a very strong advocate for
Animal rights.
was it animal rights?
I thought it was.
I thought it was diabetes and alcoholism because
that's right.
Because
I think she did animal rights as well.
And I think she lost her daughter, or she lost a daughter or a son.
Well, I think she died from complications from diabetes. I think that's what it was. I thought it was. So that's...
if only we actually did one bit of fucking research rather than pulling things straight out of our ass.
I heard a guy say one time...
yeah, we are the Trump of podcasts. I heard a thing.
No.
I'm hearing things. Things are being said.
No, we're saying things that we have actually heard. We're not making them up.
Oh, okay. All right.
So...
And we'll be the first to admit, like, it could be completely wrong. As opposed
absolutely.
To, once it leaves my lips, like, nope, sorry, no other evidence is allowed.
Not even close.
I said it, and you may think I'm wrong, and I'm going to stick by it till my dying day.
Yeah.
So, but God, Dick Van Dyke. Oh, by the way, Dick Van Dyke apparently is going to have a cameo in the sequel to Mary Poppins.
There's no way they couldn't.
That would be very interesting. I like that because... Mary Poppins is eternal.
Yeah.
So Mary Poppins shows up. Hey, nice to see you again, Bert. Mary. And then, don't make it like, an entire act of the film.
No, what they need to do is do what he did on Broadway, which was
what?
He did when Mary Poppins the musical was running around. He did.
Was he in the cast?
Not. I'm sure it wasn't like part of for the run, but he did a couple of appearances where he played the old judge that he played in the movie.
Oh,
which is who he should play. Because remember, he played Bert, but he played the old banker.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's not a judge.
The old banker. So he did that on Broadway as the old banker, and that's what they need him to do is reprise that role. He's old enough now to be really old.
Wouldn't they name Smith?
Yeah. He could do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, now he's aged right into it.
Exactly.
Like talking to Chris Kaiser is like, if you do Scrooge another decade or so, you won't even need makeup or anything. You'll be ready to be Scrooge right off the bat.
Right.
And then he stopped doing the shit, bro. Probably for that reason.
Oh yeah.
Now he's doing what's he doing? The Crucible? No, not Crucible. Faustus. He's doing Dr. Faustus.
Oh, okay.
So quite a zing away from Christmas Carol.
Yep.
Poor Terry Gilliam.
Yeah.
Can we cast Donald Trump as, in Terry Gilliam's Man
How
Who
long
Killed
is
Don
it?
Quixote?
15 years that he's been trying to do this movie?
That film has killed more
16
people than the
years?
opening 15 minutes of Saving Private Ryan.
If you don't know, Terry Gilliam for
Ever.
16, 18 years has been trying to do...
No, from the crib.
has been trying to do a movie called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. And it originally starred Johnny Depp and I want to say Jean Roquefort was who
well, it's a Jean something. I
believe it was Jean Roquefort.
Okay.
He who was playing Don Quixote, and it was something where someone goes back in time or something. It's a modern day person who ended up in Spain or at that time with Don Quixote. And
what time, Dan? Tell me the exact time period of Don Quixote.
I don't know because I couldn't finish the book. 1800s? I don't know. I'm completely 1600s probably.
Yeah.
And so there is footage that was shot, but if you want to see, there's a brilliant documentary called Lost in La Mancha, which shows how cursed this movie has been, and
Weather and sets.
well, the weather,
problems.
yeah, they found they scouted this one location because it was like desolate and it was desert and it was perfect, and then they had torrential rains and floods and it washed everything away and everything grew green on top of it. And Jean Roquefort had back issues and couldn't ride a horse, which is kind of important for Don Quixote, just a little bit. And then
what? So he's not going to tilt at windmills from a rascal?
Yeah, right. From a Segway.
Get on it. Yeah, get on his Segway.
And all these terrible things happened, and it.
And he ended up dying.
He ended up dying, yeah. And Terry Gilliam, if you watch it's become Don Quixote. Like, Terry Gilliam has become Don Quixote because he's trying to get this movie made that is never. And so I don't know, 5-6 years ago when Dr. Parnassus was coming out, Gilliam said, "I'm working on. I'm going to take another real pass at Don Quixote, and I think I'm going to change it, and it'll be just a new Don Quixote, a new remake, and not, the man who killed and all that nonsense."
Okay.
And
because there's maybe one film adaptation,
one or two.
I mean, one major Hollywood one,
right?
now,
and it
course.
was years and years and years ago.
Right,
it wasn't anything. So he said, I'm gonna take a swing at it again, and nothing happened for a couple of years. And then I don't know, I want to say 2 years ago, he said, "Okay, we're in place. We've got this. We've got the money. And we're gonna cast John Hurt as Don Quixote." And everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's brilliant!" And John Hurt passed away this week. And I mean, that's just a drop in the bucket. It's terrible for Terry Gilliam, but
even worse for John Hurt.
John Hurt. Yeah. I looked on and I went on IMDb, and how many credits do you think?
Oh gosh, considering even the BBC stuff, I'd say somewhere in the neighborhood of about 150, maybe.
204 credits on IMDb.
204.
204 credits on IMDb for John Hurt.
Now, before we delve into what is your go-to John Hurt film? I have 1.5.
1.5.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He wasn't the lead in a lot of films.
No. But in the films that I have selected, he was.
Okay. I mean, the obviously Alien.
Okay.
And he had a very important role in the Harry Potter films as well. What are yours?
And don't forget that wonderful cameo in Spaceballs.
Yes, one of the best cameos.
No, not again. For me, my favorite John Hurt film, because I think it's the first time I ever saw him on screen as a child, was in a Disney film.
Okay.
I think it was a Buena Vista film, so not Disney.
Not a Disney.
Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Called Night Crossing. This would have been, I don't know, maybe early to mid 80s.
Okay.
And it's about a family in East Germany that quietly creates a hot air balloon to get over the Berlin Wall.
Oh no, I've never seen this.
And it's I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but it has always stuck out in my mind as just being, it's wonderful. It's very heartening.
Okay.
Spoiler, they make it. Well, it's a Disney film.
Yeah, they're not.
And they
got shot down over the wall.
They were shot down. The dogs tore them apart, and those that lived were put to work in the
credits.
No, exactly. And also a very light, frothy film that came out in the mid '80s called 1984.
That's right.
How very apropos for our current times. So much so that, guess what's rocketing up the New York Times bestseller list?
Oh, yes.
It's, that's not by chance, Mr.
Don't say his name.
Drumpf.
Yeah.
let's face it. I mean, politics and art are going to intersect. I'm going to try to keep it to a minimum so people don't go, oh God, he's going
Right.
off about politics again. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear any more of his shit.
Right. Well, he's taking a stab at the arts. I mean, he's taking he's trying to cut all our funding because, and here's the thing. We were talking about this last night at the opening of my show, which I did with creative people because that's important.
But that doesn't do anything.
No, that doesn't stimulate the economy.
There's no jobs there.
Right. No, there's no jobs.
No jobs in
No
the
jobs
arts.
there. It doesn't generate any income.
Of course not.
The 200 people who paid to see the show last night, no, there's no income. I said, picking a fight with creative people and writers, really bad idea.
Dumb.
Picking a fight with Patton Oswalt, no.
Really
on Twitter, really fucking dumb. You're going to lose.
Badly.
Right. And, you're going to cut the NEA, guess what? Not going to make a difference. That's what artists do. They create out of nothing.
It's going to hurt some people.
Yeah, it's going to hurt some people for sure. But
And
art will not stop because dumbass thinks he can take the money away because that's the only thing he understands.
they made fun of me, so I'm taking away their money. Like, oh, you think that's going to stop
No.
that? That's going to quadruple it, motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You think you're going to balance the budget by killing the NEA? That's like saying, all right, we're going to get all this sand off the beach, and here's a pail.
Yeah.
That's the NEA.
Yeah, let's-
And now I'm walking away, and now
Right.
I've balanced the budget.
Right,
I've
exactly.
Got that pail of sand. Motherfucker.
So evidently he was his final credit listed on IMDb is The Pity of War, The Love and Lives of the War Poets, which I don't know what that is. 2016 TV movie.
Yeah.
And his last film is called The Journey, 2016. I didn't see it. And the one before that is Jackie, the Jackie Onassis movie.
Oh, with Natalie Portman.
yes, he plays a priest, evidently.
Oh,
so,
good for him.
So
And good for Natalie and, well, for Jackie, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
I have a feeling that film is not going to get any award traction. It has the feeling of like that second Capote film that missed, the one with Michael Seymour Hoffman got all the accolades, and the one that was in production earlier.
You
but it
just
came out
combined two actors. You said Michael C. Hall,
late. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Michael C. Hall, or Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. My brain. And then there was that other one with, I don't know who did it. Completely don't remember who was in it. And it was...
There was another Jackie Onassis film?
No, another Truman Capote film.
Oh.
They came out within 6 months of each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
And one was like, awards! The other one was like, really?
Really?
We just did that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I just have a feeling that Jackie film is not going to do too... I mean, she did get a nomination...
Golden Globe?
No, I thought they just announced the Oscar noms.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
And,
We'll have to go
and
over
Natalie
that,
Portman
yeah.
got a nom for.
I don't
for
think
Jackie.
enough people saw it, and the problem is...
Well, it just recently came out. Like the nominee. I mean, it must have opened just in enough time.
Yeah.
To get in
The
under
end
the
of
wire.
December, I'm sure, or the
Because some
beginning
of these
of
other
December.
films have been out for 6 months.
Right.
So.
Unfortunately, that's one of those subjects that, millennials don't know who Jackie Onassis is, and
Well, they goddamn well should. It's the last president assassinated. Our
well,
most
yeah.
recent. Nope, not going to make that joke.
no.
It's our most recent assassinated president,
Yeah.
and the story of his widow.
Right.
And I'm surprised that it hasn't been done before now. And obviously, I wouldn't expect it to be done in the 60s and 70s. Still a little raw for a lot of people, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
But is it too far removed at this point? I mean, it's history at this point.
yeah, exactly. Well,
So-
hell, you know me. I'm a.
It looked good. I mean, she did.
Well, I will see anything. I just think she is a quality actress. I mean,
Yeah.
So we'll see how it turns out. I will see it eventually.
Yeah.
But
John Hurt, I think the fascinating thing, this of course relevant to our interests. It always fascinates me when an actor does multiple genre movies because it makes me think, or sci-fi genre makes me think, oh cool, they're into the same things that we are. So I mean, he started out in Alien, which again, in my opinion, is not a science fiction movie; it's a horror movie.
No.
But he has done a ton of genre work. Hellboy. He's Hellboy's dad. like the cameo in Spaceballs.
Can we get our third Hellboy film? Are we gonna fucking get around to it? 'Cause,
Guillermo. I mean,
chop chop, people.
Yeah, you get on it, Guillermo. He was talking about it not too long ago. Like, hey, if
Ron
we did
Perlman
another
said,
one-
"I'm ready."
Yeah, well, he said now. Ron's like, we're talking. We'll.
All right.
So,
All right, I'm done with it.
And what was the other? The Harry Potter films,
Well,
like I said.
genre work. Hello, War Doctor.
Exactly. That's where I was going. That was a moment.
I mean, when that was introduced, I was like, I did not know that was going to happen. I'm
Well,
like,
nobody did.
oh my god, it's like there's another Doctor, and it's him.
Yeah.
It's not just like some schmo they pulled off. It's fucking John Hurt.
Yeah, Haley happened to be at our apartment when we watched that the first time, and like her and I like just flipped the fuck out. Like Courtney was like, "Is that John Hurt?" And we were like, "Oh my god!"
You look over, thrashing on the floor, running out the front door, screaming, coming back in. Ah!
And I think there's a company which I've talked about before, a company out of Britain called Big Finish Audio, and what they've done, they do audiobooks, audio drama, and for the last 20 years, they've been doing Doctor Who audio dramas with the actors. So, Eighth Doctor Paul McGann, there's like, 10, 15 adventures with him. They've been doing it with Tom Baker and with Colin Baker and with, Sylvester McCoy and all that. And
Any of the post 2005 people?
yeah, they did a couple of Matt Smiths. They did a bunch of Tennants.
There's some of those episodes that wouldn't really translate
Well, they're all
as well.
Well, they're all original stories. They're like new adventures.
Oh, so they're not doing versions of the episodes?
No. They're doing new stories.
Oh,
that's
like,
what's great.
Like the old days.
Exactly.
They're writing it specifically for
and
radio.
John Hurt did at least one or two
Oh,
War
that's-
Doctor
oh, that's
ones.
wonderful.
So, the fact that he popped up in so much stuff, I think he was just an actor. He was going to do, it didn't really matter to him. I like to think that he was a fan. I love sci-fi, but he just,
I don't know.
he would do a ton of stuff. It didn't
Well,
really
you got to
matter.
look at it. I mean, if you're an actor, which you are not,
No.
and neither am I,
Yeah.
but I would think that it's not a matter of whether you like the character that you're doing. It's whether you can deliver it believably and have something to offer. Because I'm sure Anthony Hopkins goes, "Oh yeah, I really like this Hannibal Lecter guy. He's pretty cool. I want to play him." In a sense that I relate to him. It's more like I can get into this and really deliver a brilliant performance, independent of whether he read the book or he gives a crap about that entire genre of films at all. He just, he narrows it down and goes, that is something I can do. And I would have, at least I think I would have a good time doing it. Let's go for it.
Right.
I mean, John Hurt, for the younger generation, at least in the last 10 years, they might know him best as the voice of the dragon in the BBC show Merlin.
Oh, was he?
He was the dragon. He was the dragon.
See, he did voice work too. He did a ton of stuff. He did some
his
kids
voice is
show.
legendary.
Yeah.
I mean, quite frankly, if he leaned into it, he could probably get more voice work than acting work.
He's done a
Because-
lot. There's
because
like
you can
kid
run into the
shows and
studio
stuff. Yeah, Merlin,
and knock
the
things
dragon,
out.
the Great Dragon.
Yeah.
He did one of my. Speaking of Hellboy, they did. I want to say 2 or 3 animated Hellboy movies, and everybody came back. Everybody. Ron Perlman, Selma Blair, John Hurt, Doug Jones, everybody came back and reprised their roles, and it's like, hey, how great is that? Because a lot of times when they, adapt things for like that, the big fancy stars, they're not going to lower themselves to do
Hey,
voice
I'm
work.
sorry, I don't do.
No, we'll get a
anime.
voice match. That's I had a. I had on my original Xbox, I had a Buffy the Vampire Slayer video game, which was a lot of fun. Everybody reprised their roles in the game, except Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Really?
And the girl they got was perfect.
Yeah, well,
dead on.
There,
But
there you go.
really,
See, Sarah, we would have loved to have had you, but you're not here. Great. We're gonna get Rich Little to come in on Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer. When Stacy Keach was off, sleeping off his latest cocaine binge, and we're gonna keep moving without you.
Yeah.
So sucks to be you.
Yep.
Now, speaking of animation, note to Terry, you could do The Man Who Killed Don Quixote as a animated or somehow mixed media production, and maybe cut down your budget, get funding quicker, and not, pardon me, kill as many actors in the process. I mean, you might kill a whole bunch of minimum wage workers in South Korea that are animating it, but as we all know from The Simpsons, they kill those by the score every season. They're just dumping them into the sea. So just a thought there, because I think you probably have a very good story to tell that would probably best be served with a live-action film. But in view of how things have gone, and that, you're getting up there into, Richard Attenborough age range where they won't insure you to do films anymore.
Yeah, Terry's getting up there,
Right.
too,
So it's like, you know what?
Terry's in his 60s at least at this point.
No, I think he's probably into his 70s. Well, was he the youngest of all?
He was probably the youngest.
Yeah.
And John Cleese is like 75, so he's, he's pushing it. He's pushing. I don't think he's 70 yet, but he's definitely
Getting
up
there.
there.
All right. So, but he's climbing up there.
Yes,
He's-
and
And people think like, well, as long as he's able to do it, it's like, you don't understand. There's this whole underwriting and insurance.
yeah, it's not
thing.
just let's go make a movie. It's
Right.
way more
Exactly.
involved.
That's why certain actors can't get work anymore, because sure, they can act real great.
Right.
And their past behavior and stuff they've done in their life makes them uninsurable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's that business side of films coming to bite you in the ass sometimes. So.
The film we can't gloss over, which I'm almost positive he won an Oscar for, and
Elephant Man.
Yes.
Elephant Man.
Yes.
Elephant Man.
Yep. Talk about a performance. I mean, was that 1980?
80. Right around it's either I'm pretty sure it's 80.
It's right
I'm pretty
about-
sure it's 80.
Because I remember seeing the posters for that, like in the subway. Growing
And
up.
you remember who directed it?
Yes, and you remember who produced it.
I think I should know, but
Yeah, you should.
It's
It was David Lynch.
David Lynch directed
Yeah.
it.
Well,
Was it George Harrison's company?
nope.
Who produced it?
This is an interesting bit of trivia
Dun,
because
dun, dun.
said producer literally started a different production company to do this movie because Brooks Films wouldn't.
Was it a Mel Brooks?
Mel Brooks produced The Elephant Man. Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to have Brooks Films on
Right,
because
he's
people will think it's like,
Oh, it's going to be a comedy.
I
Yeah.
am not an animal.
Exactly.
No, that film is so much not a comedy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's a single laugh in it
no,
anywhere.
of course not.
It is just people are awful. I fucking
yeah.
hate
Well,
people. Well,
especially
except for Anthony Hopkins as the doctor.
Yes.
He seemed to be a nice guy. But yeah, that God, now you're bumming me out, dude. That's God. And there was one other big major tentpole film that John Hurt was in.
Which one?
It was Elephant Man and what was the other one?
Around the same time?
I have no. It the two films he's known for.
Let's see. Spaceballs, Vincent. See, this is
Spaceballs. Yeah, scroll through 200 credits and tell me immediately.
1984. Let's see. Paul McCartney. Evidently, he was in History of the World Part 1, Heaven's Gate, big tentpole film. Midnight Express, evidently.
That's the one. Midnight Express. Directed by, don't look, who is it?
Directed by, I don't know. That I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was Oliver Stone.
I
may be wrong.
You may. Let's see.
I think it's
Alan Parker.
Alan Parker, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh no, he wrote it.
Oliver Stone.
I think Oliver Stone has something to do with the writing of Midnight Express.
Let's see.
Or am I completely talking
Nope.
straight?
Writers Oliver Stone and two others.
There we
Yeah,
go. That's
so-
it. That's it.
Oh, evidently, John Hurt played Aragorn in the animated Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings.
Oh yes, the Rankin and Bass.
Yeah.
Good old Rankin and Bass. Well, his voice is just so
Yeah,
Just-
especially back then too.
just amazing.
But yeah,
Have you seen 1984?
you know what? I don't think I have.
It is a dark.
Well, yeah.
It was a box office failure as best as I can remember. I was a kid, but I do remember that Eurythmics soundtrack. That was probably one of their best records. Kind of like how Animals is like kind of one of our favorite Pink Floyd records. Because it's so good and nobody pays any attention. It's like The Wall and Dark Side and some other
which are great, but
that just has an oomph to it. And in the Eurythmics oeuvre, the discography, the album that always gets left out of the box sets because it was from another record label was the soundtrack to 1984, and it's just so good, so good. I'm gonna have to revisit 1984, but. Ugh, good Lord.
You're living it.
I'm living right now. I'm like ready for my rat cages are going to be the best. They're going to be made out of gold. They'll fit so well on your face. You'll love it. Yeah. Well, we already have our first newspeak term out of the Trump administration.
Yeah,
alternative facts.
Yeah,
so,
which is
so there we go.
Yeah.
And that's not sending a facsimile of Nirvana and REM to That's hilarious because that's a joke that people said.
We're going to try to not devolve into this in every episode.
Just every other episode.
It's hard, people. We're really bummed out by this.
So what did you now? Do you remember? Have you seen Midnight Express?
Yes, I have. It's been a long time, but
what'd you think of it?
It was a little intense from what I remember.
You think? Just a little?
Oh, Billy.
Oh, well, not that intense.
Well, but yeah, Alien was the first I remember with him. Was watching the thing burst out of his chest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that was part of the events that made IQs drop sharply while Ripley was away. It all comes back to Aliens, man.
Yeah.
The best horror, thriller, sci-fi,
sequel,
action, comedy,
like
sequel.
Reimagining almost.
Yeah. It just makes me angry that he made it. He who will not be named.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, we diverge. What else in the John Hurt oeuvre?
I Claudius, which I have the entire set of that I have not yet cracked into.
I have actually watched that Brian Blessed.
Oh yeah,
I mean, gosh, that
yelling
was, with all the yelling, the yelling.
But everybody, Patrick Stewart and his name is the lead just popped out of my head. That kills me. I hate it when that happens.
I don't remember.
I'm looking.
It's
Derek Jacobi. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
And Patrick Stewart, like I said, and Patricia Quinn,
and Martin Freeman because he's in everything.
He is now.
Zoe Saldana probably was in there as well because she's in everything,
right? And John Hurt too because he was literally in everything. So yeah, but he worked. It just looks like he worked all the time. I mean, there's tons of stuff in here that I've never heard of. Going back to when's his first credit? 1962. Young and Willing. I don't know.
So he started out in gay porn and then went legit back.
Well, his next credit is probation officer. So possibly.
Oh my. And now, sometimes when an actor's passed away, you still get, movies from them up to like a couple of years.
Yeah, especially a guy like that who's worked, constantly.
Right.
There's probably a bunch of things sitting in the can.
Exactly. I think we're still going to get, I know, some animated film with somebody's voice. I can't remember what it is. But, things get in the can. Well, apparently, very secretly, they've been working on a sequel to 1984.
Really?
It's called 1985 Triple Plus Good. And believe it or not, his co-star in this one is going to be...
Medication time. Medication time.
Oh, we ran out of time. I will tell you next week.
The 9 Billion Names of Pod was conceived, written, and performed by Michael Reed and Dan Bauman, with Abdul Benny Hassan as the sound of splintering wood. Research, transportation, and exasperated looks by Courtney Lohner. Technical assistance by Cubase, Pro Tools, Skynet, QLab, Deep Thought, Big Brother, and Eddie or Shipboard Computer. Financial consideration provided by the Wayne Foundation, Stark Industries, the Bronner Brothers, and LexCorp. Legal counsel by the Office of Howard and Fine. Oh, Rob! Our intro music was written by Tim Akers. This podcast was sponsored by Deep Shag Records and it's a production of Audio Primate. Throw us a couple stars on iTunes, why don't you? Listen, watch on YouTube, listen on SoundCloud, stream us on Stitcher, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or email us, comlink@billionpod.com. Until this happens again, I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm Michael Reed.
Hello, Z!